There is a mistake almost everybody makes when they buy their first gold and silver, and you make it before the coins ever reach your door. The first time I ever bought physical gold, I made four of them, one after another, and I did not find out until months later when I went to sell. Nobody warns you about this. You see the price of gold, you think, I ought to own some of that. You find a seller, you send the money, and you stand at the window waiting on the delivery truck like a kid at Christmas. And somewhere in all that excitement you make decisions that cost you real money without your ever knowing it, because nobody ever told you what actually matters. Stay with me, because at the end I am going to hand you the one idea that fixes all of it, the most backwards, most important thing in this whole video, and it is this: you have to think about selling before you ever buy. For years, the whole conversation about metal has been lopsided. There is a mountain of talk out there about why you should own gold and silver. There is almost nothing that walks you through the plain, practical reality of what to buy, where to buy it, and how in the world you eventually sell it without getting burned. That is the gap that catches good people. The old-timers learned this at a counter from a man who told them straight. We mostly have to learn it the hard way, one expensive lesson at a time. So let me save you a few of those lessons tonight. I'm Hank, and I've stacked real silver and gold for 35 years. I've got nothing to sell you, and this is just what I've learned, not money advice, so do your own homework before you spend a dime. If you like knowing how this stuff really works, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps me keep making these. Let's get into it. Let me tell you about those four mistakes I made, because you will recognize yourself in at least one of them. First, I paid way too much premium without knowing it, because I bought a pile of small fractional coins thinking small was safer. Second, I bought an oddball product a slick seller talked me into, a thing I could barely sell later. Third, I gave no thought at all to where I would store it, so it sat in a dresser drawer for a month like a fool's treasure. And fourth, the big one, I never once thought about how I would sell it, until the day I had to, and got a hard lesson at the counter. Four mistakes, and every one of them was made before the coins ever arrived. Not one of them was about picking the wrong metal. They were all about not understanding the machine I was stepping into. So let me show you that machine, piece by piece, starting with the number on the screen. The first thing I wish somebody had explained to me plainly is what the spot price of gold actually is. You pull out your phone, you search the gold price, and you see a number. Let us say it reads $2,000 an ounce. That is the spot price. But here is what nobody tells you. That is not the price of a real coin you can hold. It is the price of a paper contract to buy gold on an exchange, a reference number, a benchmark the whole market points at. When you go to buy a physical ounce, you pay that spot price plus a premium on top. And that premium is not somebody picking your pocket. It pays for digging the metal out of the ground, refining it, minting it into a coin, shipping it, and every hand it passed through along the way. So when a fellow sees gold at 2,000 and then sees the coin priced at 2,080 and gets suspicious, he has it wrong. That $80 is simply what it costs to turn a paper number into a real thing in your palm. Once you understand that, you stop being surprised and you start comparing prices the right way. And here is why nobody bothered to explain this to you. There is a mountain of content out there telling you why to own gold and silver, and almost none telling you how to actually buy and sell it. And that gap is not an accident. Think about who profits from your confusion. The seller pushing a high premium product does better when you cannot tell a fair premium from a fat one. The mail order outfit charging 3 times spot does better when you have never learned what spot even is. It is not some grand conspiracy in a back room. It is just money, plain and simple. The knowledge that protects you is the same knowledge that costs somebody else a sale, so they are in no hurry to hand it to you. Which means you have to go get it yourself. And if you have overpaid before, if you got talked into something you later regretted, let me lift that off your shoulders right now. It is not on you. You were sent into a car lot with no idea what a fair sticker looked like. Tonight we fix that. Now here is where the first real trap springs, because the premium you pay depends enormously on what form you buy. And this catches new folks constantly. Take gold. You can buy it as a quarter-ounce coin, a half-ounce, a full ounce, all the way up to a kilo bar. Every one of them is real gold. But the premium per ounce is not the same, not even close. A 1-ounce American Gold Eagle might carry a premium of 5 to 8% over spot in a normal market. That same eagle in a quarter-ounce size might carry 12 to 15%. Why? Because it costs about the same to mint and handle a small coin as a big one, and now you are spreading that fixed cost over far less gold. Silver has its own version. A single silver eagle can carry a premium of $4 to $6 an ounce or more, while a 100-ounce silver bar might run just $1 or $2 over spot. That is an enormous difference when you add it all up. Let me put real numbers on it so it lands. Say you have $2,000 to put into gold. Buy it in 1-ounce coins at a 5% premium, and very nearly all of that money turns into gold in your hand. Now buy that same $2,000 in little quarter-ounce coins at a 15% premium, and you just handed an extra couple $100 to premium instead of metal. Same money, same day, same gold price, and you walked out with noticeably less actual gold, purely because of the form you picked. Do that year after year without understanding it, and it adds up to a serious pile of money left sitting on other people's counters. And here is a wrinkle almost nobody tells the beginner. The premium itself moves, all on its own, separate from spot. In calm times, premiums are thin. In a panic, when everybody wants metal at once and the mints cannot keep up, premiums balloon, and you can end up paying far over spot just to get a coin into your hand. I have watched Silver Eagle premiums double and more when fear was running high, and every fellow on the street had suddenly discovered silver. So the price you actually pay is really two numbers stacked on top of each other, the spot price and the premium, and both of them are moving at once. The lesson is patience. The worst time to buy is in the middle of a frenzy, when premiums are fat and everyone is shouting about metal. The best time is when it is boring, when nobody is talking about it and the premiums have gone thin. Buy calm, never buy scared. So does that mean you should always buy the biggest bar you can and never touch the small stuff? Not so fast, and here is the nuance. The small coins have their place. Some folks buy quarter-ounce gold as gifts. Some want fractional silver on purpose, the small denominations, in case they ever needed to trade with it in hard times, because you cannot exactly make change with a 100-ounce bar. So the rule is this: match what you buy to why you are buying it. If it is long-term wealth you are after, you generally want to hold down the premium, which usually means larger sizes. If you want the recognizable, easy-to-trade middle, standard 1-ounce government coins are right in the sweet spot. Your action here is simple. Before you buy, say out loud what the metal is for. The form should answer that question, and that leads straight into the thing that matters most of all, which is next. Here is the part I promised you. When you buy metal, you pay close to the asking price. When you sell it back, you receive close to the lower bid price. The gap between those two numbers is called the spread, and it is real money that comes right out of your pocket. It is the built-in friction in almost every market on earth. Now listen close, because this is the whole ball game. Not all metal sells equally well, and selling well means two things at once: speed and price. Some products you can sell to any dealer in the country tomorrow morning and get a fair bid on the spot. Other products, you might struggle to find a buyer at all, or you get lowballed hard because the dealer has no idea how he would ever sell the thing himself. The most liquid products in the whole market are the government-minted coins: gold eagles, gold maples, Britannias, silver eagles, silver maples. Every dealer alive knows them on sight. When you want out, there is always a buyer and always a market. That is not an accident, and it is not a fringe opinion. It is simply what every shop in the country is set up to trade. Now the spread on even those can widen at times, sometimes by a lot, and the Silver Eagle is famous for it, so keep an eye on it. But here is the mental model I would give anybody just starting out, and I want you to write it on the wall. Buy what you can sell without having to explain it. If you would have to stand at a counter and talk a dealer into what you have and why it is worth what you think, that is a thing you probably should not own yet. The metal that needs a speech is the metal that traps your money. So whatever you do, do not buy the fancy, the obscure, or the story coin thinking you will figure out the selling later. The selling is the part you figure out first. Let me tell you how I learned that one, because it cost me. Early on, a seller talked me into a fancy specialty coin, told me it was special, limited, sure to appreciate. I paid a big premium and felt like an insider. Then a couple of years later, I needed to raise some cash, and I carried that special coin into 3 different shops. The first did not want it. The second offered me melt value, less than I paid, and could not have cared less about how special it was. The third finally gave me a fair price, but only after I stood there explaining what it was for 20 minutes. Meanwhile, a plain silver eagle I bought the same week I could have sold in any of those 3 shops in 90 seconds flat. That is the whole lesson in one afternoon. The exciting coin was a cage, the boring coin was cash. Now before you buy any piece, ask yourself one blunt question. If I had to sell this next week to a stranger in a hurry, who buys it, and for how much? If you cannot answer fast and clean, put it back. And one word on where you buy, because this is where fresh money gets skinned. Buy from established, reputable dealers with a real history, a real address, and a phone a human answers, and compare a couple of them on the exact same product, because the premium on the identical coin can vary quite a bit from one shop to the next. Here is the rule that saves you more than any other. If a price is far below what everybody else is charging, it is not a bargain, it is bait. Nobody sells real gold and silver for less than it costs them, not for long, not without going broke. So a deal that looks too good to be true is somebody planning to take your money and vanish, or ship you something plated and fake. The honest dealer is rarely the cheapest on the whole internet. He is the one whose metal actually arrives, full weight and real. Slow down at that checkout. The excitement you feel is the very feeling a scammer is counting on. Now, once you own it, 2 more things nobody tells you up front, and they can bite just as hard. The first is storage, and I will keep it short because it is a whole subject of its own. You have 3 real choices. A quality safe at home, which is fine for smaller amounts if you bolt it down and keep your mouth shut. A bank safe deposit box, which feels secure but is not insured by the bank, so if that bank fails, you could have a fight on your hands to get your own property back. Or a professional third-party vault, fully insured and built for exactly this, which is where most serious holders go once the stack gets large. The action is the same as everything else here. Decide your storage plan before you buy, not after the box shows up on your porch. Then let me be blunt about the sock drawer, because that is where most first stacks actually end up. A dresser drawer is not storage, it is an invitation. If you are going to keep metal at home, get a real safe, bolt it down, and keep quiet about it, and I made a whole separate video on exactly how to do that right. If you would rather not fuss with any of that, a professional vault will hold it insured and out of your hands entirely. Either one of those is a real plan. A drawer is not a plan, it is a hope, and hope is not a strategy when it comes to your money. The second thing is the tax reality, and this is the one that ambushes people at the worst possible moment, on the way out. In the eyes of the taxman, physical gold and silver are not treated like a share of stock. The government classifies them as a collectible, and the long-term capital gains rate on collectibles runs as high as 28%, higher than the rate most people assume applies. Does that make metal a bad deal? Not necessarily, because it depends on your whole situation, how long you hold, where you live, whether it is inside a retirement account. But you want to know that going in, not discover it standing at the counter with a gain in your hand. There is also reporting. Dealers have to file certain forms, the 1099, on some transactions above certain sizes, and it varies by product. None of that is anything to be afraid of, it is just something to understand. So here is your entry ticket on this one. Before you ever sell, talk to an accountant who actually knows precious metals, because plenty of them do not. Do not skip that step just because it feels like extra work. It is the difference between keeping your gain and handing a chunk of it back. Let me say one more thing on that because it genuinely catches people. A lot of new buyers just assume metal is taxed like a share of stock, at the friendlier long-term rate. It is not, because the government files it under collectibles. That long-term rate can run all the way up to 28%, and folks only find that out in the worst possible moment, standing at the counter with a nice gain, doing the arithmetic for the very first time. Now that does not make metal a bad idea, not by a long shot, and there are ways it can be held that change the whole picture. But you want to walk in knowing the rule, not get ambushed by it years later. And keep your records from the very first purchase, what you paid and the day you paid it, because your gain is just the difference between your buy price and your sell price, and if you cannot prove what you paid, you can wind up taxed on far more than you actually made. A shoebox of receipts, kept in order, turns into real money at tax time. And keep it simple, a folder, a notebook, a spreadsheet, whatever you will actually use, with the date, what you bought, what you paid, and where. 10 seconds of writing at each purchase saves you an ugly afternoon and a fat tax bill years down the line. The disciplined stacker keeps his records the same way he keeps his metal, in order and where he can find it. Now let us pull back and look at the whole sweep of it. None of what I just told you is complicated once somebody says it plainly, but none of it gets said when you are standing there excited, cash in hand, about to buy your first ounce. The people who do well with metal over the long haul are simply the ones who treat the buy like the serious decision it is. They know what they are buying, and they know why, and they know how they will one day sell it. And underneath all of that is something harder to put a number on. When everything else in your life is flashing red, when the news is screaming and the markets are a mess, there is something steadying about holding a thing that is real, that you can weigh in your own hand, that has been a store of value since long before any of the money we use today ever existed. Physical ownership changes how a person carries himself. It made me steadier. It can do the same for you, but only if you buy it right, so that on the day you need it, it is there, and it sells, and it does what real money is supposed to do. So carry the whole thing out with you in one breath. Know what spot is, and pay a fair premium, not a fat one. Match the form to the reason you are buying. Buy only what you can sell without a speech. Settle your storage before it arrives. And know the tax man treats it as a collectible before you ever have a gain to hand him. Do those 5 things, and you have skipped every mistake I made, and most of the ones that catch good people. The metal is the easy part. The homework around it is what separates the folks who do well from the folks who later wish they had done it differently. Before you go, do me a favor and drop a comment below with just 2 things. First, if you already own metal, tell me the one thing you wish somebody had told you before your very first purchase, because a beginner is going to read it and be spared the lesson. And second, if you have not bought yet, tell me the one thing that is still making you hesitate at the edge. I read every comment I can, and your answer just might end up shaping the next video. Thank you for spending this time with me, friend. Stack smart and look after yourselves.